I'm gonna show you guys how I fix the soda machine. So if you come over here, so this gauge here is the CO2 that supplies to all these pumps, and that's what pushes all of the liquid, your little syrup, up to whatever gun it's calling to. And then this CO2 gauge is what's connected to the carbonation of the water. So if you come over here, there's two different holders here. So these have carbonated water inside of them. And what it does is these fill up with water, just regular old municipal tap water, and then air comes through it and it carbonates this water inside of these holding tanks. So this is for the second floor, this one's for the first floor. So if you come down here, if you ever notice like, hey, the soda's flat, come down here and check these gauges first. 9 times out of 10, this gauge right here is gonna be low. This gauge normally needs to be sitting at 100. So the first thing to do with this is we're gonna go outside and we're gonna check the level of the CO2 tank. So when we get out here, we check these tanks. So if you wanna come over here. So this gauge right here is really the one that you wanna be noticing. Or I guess, scratch that. The first one you wanna look at is this. This tells you how full this CO2 tank is. So normally, if your CO2 tank is like anywhere between halfway or a little above and lower, it's only going to be able to push out so much PSI at a time. So the next gauge you want to look at is this one right here. So you can see that this one is only pushing out 80 PSI. Now, I did mess with the gauge here, so we'll just disregard that. But anyway, so if you see that this is running low, what I would do first is I'd close this off and then find another tank like this one that's completely full and go ahead and flip it on. And right here, you'll see that we are running at like a little bit less than 120. We're probably running 110 PSI, which is perfect. So if you're having issues with the soda machine, first check to see if the tank is low, because if it's only halfway full, it's only gonna be able to push out 80 PSI. Like it's never gonna be able to push out more than that. So this regulator right here is what you wanna be looking at. So it looks like right now we're running about 110 PSI out of this tank. So we'll run back down to the basement and we'll see what the gauge says from there. Okay, so now we came back down here and now we're sitting closer to 100 PSI on this gauge, which is where we wanna be. Now, you find out that your soda is still flat. There's the next thing you can do. You can come up here and you can unplug this and unplug this. Now what I just did was I just unplugged these pumps that pumps the carbonated water to the gun. So when you're making soda, it takes carbonated water out of this holding tank and syrup from whatever you're trying to get, and it mixes them together, and that's how you make the soda. So the pumps are unplugged. That means that they can't fill up with water and they can't go to the gun. So from here, we'll go upstairs. So now we're upstairs here at the first bar, and you'll find a bucket. You get a bucket from inside the brewery, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your gun and this soda button here. You're gonna run the soda button until it doesn't run anymore. So we'll do this. And you'll just run this soda button. So all I'm doing is I'm just running carbonated water from that holding tank and I'm emptying it out is essentially all I'm doing. All right, so we've emptied out we ran the soda button until it's doing this. It's just spinning. There's no more liquid coming out. So that holding tank, we just emptied that holding tank out. It was full of carbonated water. We took all of the old flat carbonated water out by using this gun, and now it's empty. So we'll take our bucket and we'll go to the upstairs bar and we'll do the exact same thing. So we just ran this out. So from there, a little trick, you can run this gun and that gun at the same time. Same thing with the downstairs bar. If you run both of the guns at the same time, it's gonna cut your time in half. But running them until they're spitting and they're empty. And that means that those carbonated holding tanks downstairs are empty. So we're gonna run downstairs, we're gonna go plug them back in. Both of these holding tanks that were once filled up with carbonated water are both empty. We just emptied those out. So we're gonna go ahead and plug those back in. So you can hear them kick back on. So they're kicking on. So they are filling up with water, carbonated water again. So the water, regular old tap water, and is mixing with our 100 PSI CO2 that we just fixed. So that is making it to where it is filling up with the correct carbonated water for the soda gun. So once these fill up, you go upstairs, you can run whatever you want, soda water or any of the sodas, run it for a couple seconds, and then should be good to go. These things will kick off. If this one just kicked off, okay, so both of these kicked off, we're all good. And then when you are calling for more soda from wherever it is, so if you're at the downstairs bar and you're calling for Sprite, these things take the carbonated water from the holding tanks and the syrup, they mix together, and then they just automatically fill up with the new carbonated water. So if your soda's ever flat, the first thing I would check would be this, check this out, and then if it's still flat after that, that would mean that it's been flat for probably quite some time, at least a couple days. So that's when I would drain this out. You don't necessarily have to drain these out every single time that they're flat. If you notice that it's a little flat or starting to get flat, go ahead and switch this over, and it should kind of catch up to itself with time. But if it's been, a day or two and it's been flat, then you'll probably have to empty these out. Other than that, it's pretty much all you have to do. And then if it's still flat after that, I would just call Coca-Cola rep, and that number will be attached to the video.